Hey, welcome back to Java with Jeff. I've got my beverage and my Bible today. I hope you do too. If not, push pause, go grab your Bible, and I want to think about something with you today. I've been thinking about how people react to things, and I don't know, maybe it's always been there, but just recently I've sort of been in tune with how people react, and they normally react one of two ways about things. If you're on social media, if you watch the comments about things, it doesn't matter if it's politics, it doesn't matter if it's social issues, it doesn't even matter whether it's Bible related. I think there are two different opposite reactions to things, and it falls into two categories. And we have a really hard time of balancing or holding the tension of those two categories. So let me just tell you what they are. It's grace and truth. The two opposite sides of that spectrum are grace and truth. And so some people lean towards the grace side, and they react in a loving all the time, accept everything. Why don't we just all get along? Why don't we just love everyone? Which means out there in the world that you just believe whatever someone else says. And why don't we just leave people alone and just love them? And they think that's what the Bible teaches. The other end of the spectrum is truth. And that's the one where people react a little more harsher, maybe rude sometimes, to hold the line about stuff, to hold the rules and the regulations about things with truth. And we have a hard time holding the tension between those two things, between grace and truth. And the good news is that Jesus came along, and John, his good friend, said this about Jesus and what Jesus said about himself in John chapter 1, verse 17. He said, "For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ." I love that verse because it gives you history and it tells you what happened when Jesus showed up. So the history is, there was a guy named Moses back in the Old Testament that God gave the law to on Mount Sinai and all the rules and regulations for God's people. But on the other hand, Jesus came, and all of a sudden now he fulfilled all those rules and regulations and laws and all those things, and he did it through truth and grace. Grace and truth. He did it through holding the tension between those two radical different things. He came, and in every interaction, every conversation, every reaction, every discipleship teaching, every parable he gave, he leaned in and he was perfect, absolutely perfect, flawless at having grace and truth at the same time. There were moments when it looked like he leaned towards loving and excluded truth, but he didn't. And there were times when he leaned towards truth and it looks like he excluded loving or grace, and he didn't. He held it in tension. And it's so challenging to me because there are different circumstances, I'm sure there are for you too, where you want to swing the pendulum one way or the other, and you want to give more grace, more truth. And most of the time I've noticed, as I said at the beginning of this Java with Jeff, that people have a hard time holding the tension. So we react to things one way or the other, and just watch the world. They're reacting too. So I hope that's challenging to you, encouraging to you to lean in and do a little introspection about which way do you go? Do you lean towards grace? Do you lean towards truth? And how could you prayerfully lean into both in every circumstance in your life? It's impossible, we're not perfect, but I challenge you to do it. With every conversation, decision you make, with your family, your friends, your other believers in your life, your neighbors, coworkers, whatever it might be, figure out how you could react with grace and truth all the time, because that's what Jesus did. Hope that's helpful for you. I'll see you next week.